Hey guys, Todd Lauder here. I'm with Ben Brown today from Body Systems Labs. Is that what it is, Ben?
That's correct. Yeah.
Ben, I kind of ran across Ben here through, as I call him, Dexafit Dan over here in Central Illinois, and Ben holds two master's degrees from Arizona State University. As I mentioned, he's got his own supplement line, BSL Nutrition, and I've been using, as my son has, and I've got a couple other swimmers using his Complete Essentials, essential amino acid training formula. Ben's been in the business for years, not only the supplement side and functional medicine or functional nutrition side, but also in the training. Been in the trenches just like myself, and has an extensive academic background, as I already mentioned. So what I wanted to do today is introduce everybody to Ben, talk about his products a little bit, dig into the supplement and nutrition side of the business, and just give you guys maybe a few more resources to be successful with not only athletic performance but also weight loss. So Ben, welcome to the call.
Thanks for having me, Todd. I appreciate it.
I want to jump right in with your product, Complete Essentials. Tell me, what was the original goal, the hypothesis? What did you want to accomplish with this product?
Yeah, so I had been, I have a background in personal training, and I had been personal training for several years. In fact, at the time I decided or kind of came up with the idea of putting together an all-in-one workout powder. I had been training for going on about 10 years, and I was a little frustrated with uh, the products on the market, the quality of the supplements on the market. I was frustrated with the sales process between the companies and myself and my clients. I was frustrated with the price points and kind of the comprehensiveness of the products, I guess you could say. And sort of to help you understand was I was carrying a lot of products in my office that I was providing to my clients that I felt were important to be taking in and around their workouts. I thought it was important for them to be taking both branched chain amino acids and the essential amino acids. And just to clarify, the branched chain amino acids, which most people have heard of, the BCAAs, those are three of the nine essential amino acids. And essential amino acids are just kind of the amino acids or the building blocks of protein that we would get from eating a steak or chicken or fish or something like that. But it's the ones that our body can't manufacture. So we have to get it from our diet. And obviously it's important, we know the importance of protein in terms of joint integrity and muscle mass and all of that kind of stuff, cellular function. And so I thought those were important. I thought electrolytes are important. I thought there was a couple other kind of more pseudo pre-workout type things that would be beneficial for my clients, especially the ones that are really trying to maximize performance, maximize muscle mass, fat loss, things like that. And so, like I said, I was frustrated with the price point of the products. I was frustrated with not really understanding the process of how they source their raw ingredients, of the quality of the ingredients, of what they were telling me was actually, what was in the product was actually in the product. Um, and so I was kind of just aggravated at that whole thing. And so I was fortunate enough to be working with a client who his family, his wife's family basically is in the supplement industry. And we just kind of started, we had been working together for quite some time. I trusted him. He had gotten good results with me. He had been using the product, so he understood me and where I was coming from and what I was trying to do. And it really just came up as in conversation of saying, if you were ever interested in creating your own product, which I never really thought about, we can go sit down with my brother-in-law and we can kind of talk about what that would look like and what the cost involved would be. And so we kind of got the wheels turning in terms of, it would be interesting to see if we could kind of combine some of these products that I've been using. And there were some products that I was very happy with. I just wasn't happy necessarily with the price point. And the number of products that people were taking, and the compliance is like, look, if I'm giving you 4 or 5 products to take around your workouts, it's both expensive and it's just a pain in the butt for people. And if we're working with general population, which most of us personal trainers are, then it's unlikely that they're going to do that for any long-term period of time, right?
Right.
And so I just wanted something that was realistic for people. It met their price point, and then as a personal trainer, it was easy for me to buy, to inventory, and to sell. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So um, because that's stuff that takes time, that adds to the bottom line. And so, what's something that I can put together that's going to be beneficial for my clientele, that's more comprehensive in nature? So, can I combine 4 or 5 products into one? And then also, my idea was, well, if it's going to be good for me, it's going to be good for other trainers. And because I understand where other trainers are coming from, I understand how difficult an industry it is. Um, Being a personal trainer is probably one of the most difficult professions to be successful at, um, in my opinion, and to have any longevity with. If I can do something to help other people in my situation, then I'm down for that.
Fantastic.
So that was the frustration involved in how I came about kind of putting together the complete essentials.
In addition to the essential amino acids, which to my knowledge, I've only run across one other product, and we won't mention it, but it's from a physician that's even close to the quality and grade that you do as far as the essential amino acids and as well as the branch chains go. But you've gone a step further with the L-carnitine, the citrulline. Kind of jump into that for us.
Yeah, so there's actually, it wasn't not my idea, and the idea of putting all the essential amino acids. I mean, I've studied with some pretty smart people throughout my career, and so I certainly can't take credit for that. There's been products on the market, and are currently products on the market that were out before mine that had some combination of the ingredients that I put together. What I did was just kind of try and marry all of the things that I thought were beneficial. But um, there's Dr. Serrano in Ohio and John Meadows, the Mountain Dog Diet, and Charles Poliquin. They've all had some version of the essential amino acids, which I knew was beneficial and which I'd been using already with my clients. And so I said, I understand that there's benefit and value in the essential amino acids, and providing people with more of a complete protein in and around their workouts. Again, if this is something that's the only thing that they're using around their workout, then we know we want more than just the BCAAs. So then in addition to that is saying, all right, well, from a pre-workout, and I mentioned that kind of pre-workout standpoint, we talk about the citrulline. We talk about a couple other ingredients that can help with fueling energy, fueling blood flow, helping to clear lactate. And so the citrulline is the big one that can help with increasing blood flow throughout that workout, providing nutrients, shuttling those nutrients to the muscles, and then also helping clear ammonia and lactate in the urea cycle. And so it's something that the literature is kind of mixed on, but anecdotally we know it to be pretty beneficial in certain dosages. And so that's what I wanted to include in the product. And in particular is for its benefit on improved recovery, intra-workout, intra-set, recovery, improved work output, things like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And for those listening that aren't, the scientific jargon tends to jump over the head, just correct me if I'm wrong. Essentially what it does is help clear waste byproduct from high energy expenditure.
Yeah, because when we're exercising, especially when we're doing things like weight training or sprinting or exercises that involve short bouts of intense exercise, we're building up a lot of metabolic waste, right? When those muscles can't use oxygen, they're accumulating metabolic waste products, and that's something that we need to clear out to improve work capacity, and that's what the improved blood flow and the citrulline helps do. And more people might be familiar with arginine, which is something that is in the same cycle, but what we know is that citrulline seems to be a precursor to arginine, so it actually helps increase arginine, which helps then drive more nitrous oxide production, which is the main blood flow agent. And so it's all in a roundabout way, but the citrulline seems to sort of be the more effective ingredient in that whole cycle.
Right. And when we talk about athletic performance, we're really trying to solve the puzzle of having more energy substrate available and being able to, as you said, clear the
Yep.
byproducts from burning that energy substrate. So Complete Essentials tends to get that on both sides a little bit.
Yeah, so that's the bottom line. Is what can we do? And this is the bottom line that people need to start to look at in terms of all supplementation is how are these contributing to, and I suppose it depends on the supplement, but how are these contributing from a biomolecular standpoint is how are these ingredients contributing to these energy systems? And so that's when we look at aspartic acid and some of these some of the other essential amino acids that are in the product is how are those fueling the energy production cycle, right? How are they helping our mitochondria produce more energy? Because in the grand scheme of things, that's where we're most backed up. When we start to talk about longevity and energy and fat losses, it all comes down to a cellular level. And so what can we provide the body that's going to help those cells function more effectively?
Efficiently, yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to do. And then in addition to those is electrolytes, which we've all heard electrolytes, but electrolytes are minerals, a specific group of minerals that our body needs for cellular function and muscle contraction and brain function and for electrical conductivity, right, in the body. And those, in particular, the ones I'm referring to are sodium, magnesium, potassium, as just the ones that we talk about with the Complete Essentials. And so we wanted to provide those in good quality forms because, of course, they're important for all the reasons I just said, but also because people are very deficient in those. And so if we can provide some ingredients that are going to help minimize deficiencies in the important minerals, excuse me, and magnesium, excuse me, and magnesium, as an example, is a mineral that is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions in the body and metabolic processes that we're all very, very deficient in because of, or the mineral that we're deficient in because of our soil quality so poor. Therefore, the food that grows from the soil, right, plants and nuts and seeds and things that we would normally get the magnesium in is going to be much lower than what it should be. And therefore, we need to eat either a lot more of that food or supplement with it.
Okay. So we've kind of, well, my head's swimming now with everything you just threw at us. As far as energy cycles go, one of the things when I looked at this, and this is a little bit off track, that I looked at this and I thought, man, if I add creatine to this, I've got everything I need for short burst and sort of that medium intensity. So I've been using them both. Give me some feedback.
So yeah, I believe you had previously asked me what one of the struggles with creating the product was. And one of the main struggles with creating the product was I wanted everything in it. I wanted creatine in it. I wanted beta-alanine in it. I wanted some other minerals.
You just stole my thunder because that's what I'm using too.
Some other non-essential amino acids like glutamine. And, at the end of the day, it was sort of like what's the biggest bang for your buck that we can get from a product? We want to be able to keep it affordable for people. And really compared to the other products that I mentioned on the market, in terms of being an all-in-one product, in terms of having all the essential amino acids, it's far cheaper than what other people are charging. Because again, is like we want it to be fair for everyone. We want trainers to do well with it, but we also want people to take it, and to be able to afford it. And to have proof of concept. We want to make sure that we've only been on the market for a couple of years, and we want to make sure, people are really happy with it. But going back to your question is, I would love to have more things in it, especially a little bit of creatine, because especially you can't argue with the research and the value of creatine for both athletes and non-athletes, especially an aging population. And that's one of the huge benefits of the essential amino acids is kind of that age-related muscle decline, kind of called sarcopenia that people may be familiar with. But any way we can do to make sure people's protein intake stays adequate is important, and this would be a way for people to do that. So this is not just a sport performance product, but it's really an aging, a general health, a longevity type product as well.
Man, you are fantastic at segues because my next question had to do with alternate protocols.
Yeah.
Obviously we've focused on athletic performance and sport and pre-workout, post-workout kind of thing. How do you use this product for fat loss? How do you use it for muscle preservation in the presence of sub maintenance calories?
Well, the good thing about the essential amino acids is they have very low caloric load. So it's not like we have other things in there. We don't have carbohydrate or fat in the product, so the calories are going to be low regardless. I mean, you just regardless of how much you take, the calories are going to be low. So it needs to be a factor if fat loss is part of the equation, um, but it doesn't need to be that big much of a factor. In fact, for fat loss, you know we kind of we dose the product based on size.
Right.
And so for someone that's around 200 pounds, let's say your average 200-pound male, the optimal dosing is going to be 4 scoops 30 minutes before and 4 scoops during their workout. And that's going to provide 16 grams per 4 scoops. So it would be 16 grams of the essential amino acids before, another 16 grams during. So that's over 30 grams of the essential amino acids. And what people need to understand about the essential amino acids is these are free form, which means if we break down a protein, there's usually links of molecules that form each protein, but these are isolated molecules, which means that they completely bypass gut and liver and intestinal absorption. They are really just directed right into the bloodstream for use. And so they're much better absorbed in theory than like a whey protein, which is going to require the body to take time to break it down. And some's going to be utilized by the liver and the intestines and stomach and things like that. So potentially you're getting a higher biological value of protein. You're getting
It's getting to the
more bang for your buck. Does
it
that make
gets
sense?
yeah, it gets to the target tissues more readily than
Yeah,
say
totally. Exactly. And so first and foremost, we need to make sure we're getting enough of the protein in. So that's part of the optimal dosing for someone that's maybe closer to 150 pounds, let's say 130 or 150-pound female. 2 scoops would be good before and during their workouts, which is just going to be half of what I just talked about. And that's usually a pretty solid dosing. We don't need to go crazy with the amount of protein that people are taking in, but from a fat loss standpoint, that would be a very effective dosing methodology. And then look, if it's fat loss, then people need to be monitoring the rest of their nutritional intake and creating a caloric deficit
right.
throughout the day. But if we're talking about muscle building, then I would say the same dosing, but I would add in like some additional protein in a post-workout shake, plus probably a post-workout carbohydrate powder, if not an intra-workout carbohydrate powder, depending on the type of training that they're doing, the athlete's goals. Whether is it an athlete? Is it a bodybuilder? Is it a housewife? Who are we talking about? What are their caloric needs? But typically, if it's someone that needs a caloric surplus, like someone that's trying to put on muscle mass, then a post-workout shake, you need something to add more calories because typically people have a hard time getting enough real food, right? And digestion is always an issue too.
Exactly. Have you played around at all with, I know Dr. Serrano and his colleagues are big on using their product between meals as somebody
Yes.
else. Have you tried that? I mean, to me, that
Yes,
seems
that
like
would
the.
be. Sorry, I didn't. Sorry
No,
to
that's you're
interrupt.
fine.
That would be something that we use successfully with like physique competitors and people that are restricting their calories. And what works really well is using it like mid-afternoon
Okay.
would be sort of we're in between a lunch and a dinner time, and I'm not, I don't really have a snack in my plan, or I'm really busy and I'm running around between appointments and doing a couple scoops and some ice water is a great way to kind of signal the brain that you're getting some nutrition in. It's a great way to kind of put those hunger signals at bay and just kind of get you through that slump, that mid late morning, mid late afternoon slump, if you will. It works very well.
Perfect. Let's take a little turn. You and I talked before we got on the phone about your history with functional nutrition and some of the clinical testing that we've I think all at some level been exposed to in our industry. Adrenal fatigue. We had a great conversation about this before, and the mainstream public is starting to become aware of the condition. Give me your spiel that you had to give a million times when you started running into people that wanted to lose 20 pounds of fat, but yet wake up tired, never get enough sleep, and are stressed to the max.
So adrenal fatigue, I'll use it in quotations. Adrenal fatigue, right? It's kind of this nebulous term that's thrown around the functional medicine society, and it's not really recognized by medical professionals. There's no scientific basis for adrenal fatigue per se, without being a significant disease state, in which case the adrenals completely stop producing norepinephrine and epinephrine and adrenaline. But for all intents and purposes, it's this state where we have some level of adrenal insufficiency, and that basically means that our stress hormones have been running on overload for too long. And there's different stages of that. And the conversation that I was having with people was like, look, if you're legitimately interested in losing body fat, then it's not just about nutrition and exercise. It's about managing your sleep and your stress levels and improving your gut health and limiting your environmental toxicity exposure and improving the relationships that you have in your life. And all of those kinds of things. And so, like we talked about, it was something that I was testing for through saliva tests in my office. That basically it was the same conversations over and over again. And so I stopped testing, but was just like, look, this is stuff that I had to start to build into my practice, into my coaching. Was like, if you're serious about losing body fat, then you got to learn how to chill out. And here's the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that we're optimizing sleep, and we need to, shut the television off and the computer at night, far enough away from bed so that you can actually produce the sleep hormones that you're supposed to be producing and shut off that stress hormone cortisol so that your pineal gland can start to secrete melatonin, which we need to get into a deep, restful sleep. We need to be able to have frequent and consistent bowel movements. What's going on with digestion? Are there food sensitivities going on? What's the state of your gut health? If you're not going to the bathroom every day, what do we need to do to get you going so that you can detoxify effectively and get those things out and improve the healthy bacteria in your gut? And are you avoiding environmental exposure to known toxins and carcinogens? Are you putting xenoestrogens, estrogen toxic compounds on your skin from lotions and shampoos and makeup and creams and things like that on a daily basis, in which case you're flooding your skin, which is an organ which shuttles these things right into your bloodstream. You're shuttling carcinogens into your bloodstream that your liver has to detoxify, right? And so all of these things that are incredibly important for people to be cognizant of. So while I do think there's validity in talking about adrenal fatigue, it's really just something that should be an eye-opener for people to take a deeper look into what's going on in their life and use it as the incentive to start to change their lifestyle factors.
It's funny listening to you. 25 years of treating people's bodies, somewhere along the lines of around 15 to 20, trust me, I'm a slow learner, you begin to realize you need to treat their mind first and their lifestyle before you can have any impact on their body and help them with the journey. And you mentioned, it's so funny to me, it's the last place we look, is even something as massively important as the close relationships you have in your life that are neglected and create stress. And stress is a thing. It's a real thing that has a real impact. And we were talking about DexaFit Dan, and we met each other because I get a lot of his interns, and it's cool in one sense to see these kids excited about sets and reps and weights and program design. And I know all that stuff's important. And just like you, I've studied it. but to me that's secondary to getting their head moving in the right
Yeah.
direction first. So
No,
great stuff.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's been an interesting journey, and it's always fun talking with people like you that get it, and you've been in the industry long enough, and you've worked with enough people where, at the end of the day, like, you want to be able to, if only it was as easy as manipulating diet and exercise,
Right.
but it's also then you're thinking about, well, how do I do it in a way where I can keep them having a healthy relationship with food and with their body, and not focusing too much on the scale and not focusing too much on the numbers, and still living, and still showing and being a good example for their children and what their children are going to grow up to start to do. And you put all those things, into, you factor all of those things in when you start to get down the road.
It's funny. One of the questions I was getting, I know you got it when you were training in the trenches and daily stuff, is, well, what do I do while I'm on vacation? And my stock answer is nothing. Go have fun. I don't care what you eat. Try to stay active. Try to make decent choices, but enjoy your family. Enjoy the vacation, because you need to get
Totally.
away.
Totally.
Uh,
And I'll just throw in, but something very cool that I've seen throughout my career with that topic specifically is when people shut off, and it's what you were talking about, the mind body connection and stress, and what stress itself can do towards how you store body fat. But when you get people, when they just say, screw it, I'm just going to shut down for the week, and they come back and they're 4 or 5 pounds lighter, and they feel better, and they've been eating worse and drinking more, and they're just, they've legitimately had an opportunity to just chill. But you see how the body responds to the stimulus or lack thereof. It's the stress. So I just wanted to throw that in because
oh
it's
yeah,
very profound how it works.
yeah. It's so easy for us because we see it every day, all day. It's hard for people who it's their life to separate that out. So, I want to throw a couple. These aren't specific to Complete Essentials, but they're specific to Ben Brown. And first, what does your supplement regime look like?
Currently, it's kind of all over the place. But I'll tell you. So I kind of go through ebbs and flows. There's periods of time where I'm pretty diligent about taking stuff, and it can be a lot of stuff, just a couple things. But I'll tell you just what I'm taking right now. Multivitamin, multimineral, just a quality multivitamin, multimineral. And most like people need to avoid Centrum multivitamins and those one a day
Yeah.
products that you get at Walgreens. And I'm going to speak generally. So Centrum is certainly not the only one, but they're just pretty poor quality. The quality of the ingredients is very low, so the absorption is going to be very low, to say nothing of the fact that it's not even close to the recommended daily allowance of the vitamins and minerals that we need. But people should be looking for a comprehensive multivitamin and multimineral. And I won't even go into like the forms of the minerals and all that stuff. It's just,
We could
you
spend all
really
day.
you should get a product from one of your health practitioners, because typically they're going to be carrying a product, right, that they believe in. What am I taking? I'm taking some. I'm taking some desiccated liver, so like beef liver glandular,
Mm-hmm.
which is just a dense source of vitamin A. It's B vitamins. It's basically like dehydrated beef liver,
Yeah.
quality beef liver. And we know the value in eating organ meats from animals, so it's just a supplemental way of getting that stuff in. I use digestive enzymes around my meals. So hydrochloric acid with mostly my protein containing meals. And that's because most people, it's believed that most people, and this is more of a functional medicine type thing, but most people are hypochloritic or don't produce enough stomach acid to adequately digest their protein sources. And so I'll use some ancillary HCl, which is what we would normally produce in the stomach for foods. I use a lot of magnesium. I'm using a lot right now in multiple different forms, but in particular with magnesium, and I will get into the mineral type, you want to use chelated forms, and these are the magnesium that's bound to some other amino acid. So for example, an example would be magnesium glycinate or magnesium lysate or magnesium malate, typically a mineral that ends in, or an amino acid that ends in ATE. So right now I'm using a few of those forms in addition to another form, and I'm using that because I'm we're going to come out with a magnesium formula very shortly here, and I'm just kind of taste testing, if you will, playing around with dosages, just seeing my level of tolerance and making sure they're good combinations and testing it on some other people. And so, but magnesium, as I mentioned, is one of the minerals that we're always deficient in, so I'm always using some type of magnesium, whether it be an orally ingested one or a topical in the form of a cream, or like Epsom salt baths can go a long way. Like I said, skin's an organ, and so it's a great way to absorb those mineral salts.
Okay. Go ahead.
See, I think that's the nuts and bolts of it. Sometimes I'll use some stuff around sleep if my brain won't shut off. I'll use a little bit of melatonin, or I'll use a form of magnesium called magnesium threonate, which is one that actually can cross the blood-brain barrier, and that can help shut the brain down, if you will.
That was theonate?
Threonate.
Threonate.
Threonate. And then I use, around my workouts, I use caffeine, and I use the Complete Essentials.
Great.
That's pretty much it.
Pretty simple nuts and bolts there.
Yeah, and then I'll do whey protein post-workout, plus usually a carb source, whether it's just some juice or a coconut water or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. How about I throw some topics at you and you give me your gut reaction?
Sure.
Network marketing nutrition.
Oh, like MLM?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this earlier. It's funny. Man, okay, so here's what I think. From a supplement industry standpoint, from a manufacturing standpoint, the quality of the raw materials needs to be so low or so cheap for everyone up the chain to make money. Okay, so you're looking at very cheap ingredients at cost. And so then the way they're marking up the product significantly, it just ends up, for most products, it ends up being shitty ingredients.
Yeah, so it really does. It's a combination of poor quality and high markup in order to make that business model work.
That's exactly it. To say nothing of the fact that you have terribly unqualified people trying to sell supplements through, whether it's fear-mongering or just trying to appeal emotionally to people's pain and saying this is going to help you lose weight. Look at what it did for me or this other person, to say nothing of what they've been doing in the gym or in the kitchen. In general, Todd, I'm not a fan. I do think that there's some decent products on the market, and I do think that there's some qualified individuals that can promote those products. And I do think that someone could potentially make a very good living, but just like anything else, they have to work their butt off and make it their business. And it's not something that you can do on the weekends, as just a part-time job if you actually want to be successful with it. And I think that's a bunch of BS. So in general, I'm just not a fan.
Nothing in life is easy. Not if you want to be good at it. Charles Poliquin.
Charles Poliquin is polarizing. It's both good and bad. I think Charles Poliquin is so far ahead of his time, or has been for the last however many years. And he's dogmatic about his ways, and he has a way of doing things, and I think that he appeals to many and repels many, and that's not a bad thing. Some would say, he's a guru in the industry. And what I think is most important with that said is that Charles backs up what he says. He gets very good results. He's produced more Olympic athletes than I don't know any other coach that I know of, in terms of a legitimate strength and conditioning standpoint. So he backs it up, and I've learned a ton of useful information. Some stuff I don't find useful in my business. A lot of stuff I do and have found useful. And so I think he's a very well-respected and trusted source in the field of strength and conditioning.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was honored enough early on in his career when he was still with Muscle Media to spend a weekend in Chicago with him and 10 other people in a room. And I know it was much to Charles' chagrin because he was hoping for 50 at the time. And I know he's never in a room anymore with that few people, but I learned more in that weekend than I did in any of my formal education. So I think the world of him. And yeah, he's very polarizing, but you know exactly where you stand and where he stands on almost any topic. Favorite book?
My favorite book, fiction, is called Shantaram. You're just going to have to check it out. It's about a drug addict who gets put in prison in Australia and escapes to the slums of India, and it's just an incredible novel.
Sounds really
incredible novel, very thick novel. Again, it's called Shantaram. I'm not thinking of who the author is. Favorite nonfiction, favorite book. Oh man. I don't know. I'm right now. I'll tell you what I'm reading right now. I'm reading Extreme Ownership by
the Navy SEAL,
Jocko Willink, ex-Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
I think the principles in there are phenomenal. It's about taking ownership over everything you do, and the role of being a leader and what it takes through ownership. I'm reading what's the new Tim Ferriss book?
Oh, Tools of the Titans. Yeah.
Tools of Titans. Incredible.
Great book.
Yeah, just the thought leaders in there, and the sound bites that you get from each chapter. It's just very succinct, and so those are two that I'm kind of focused on right now. I wish I had more time to read. I used to read so much more before kids and business. I miss reading. I need to make more time for it.
Tim's stuff always fits my attention span. Quick, small bites. So this was a question and a quote from Chris Moore. Do you know Chris? Dietitian, Louisville, Kentucky.
I don't.
Chris has been pretty influential in the industry, I think, from the registered dietitian standpoint in the last several years. Anyway, he said, people always ask me what supplements do I take, which I already did that to you. He said, I wish they'd ask me what foods do I eat. There you go, Ben Brown. What foods? What are your essentials? What do you what are your go-tos?
I eat protein with just about every meal. Animal protein. I choose quality protein. When I say quality, I mean animals that eat what they're supposed to eat as much as possible. So cows that eat grass, chickens that are free range and eat bugs and grass and things like that. Wild caught fish, pastured chicken. I eat lots of colors of the rainbow in terms of vegetables and fruits. I eat starchy grains, mostly gluten-free, but I have no problem with occasional gluten or sprouted grain breads. I eat healthy fats in the form of olive oil, MCT oil, coconut oil, avocado, nuts and seeds, and then of course whatever fat comes in
your meat.
the animal meats, right? And I drink alcohol here and there, probably too much for my body composition goals, but whatever. And sweets, I'm kind of a chocolate guy if I'm going to eat sweets, but also like cheesecake is my favorite favorite dessert ever. A good cheesecake.
You're a real dude. I love it, man. You're not trying to
Yeah,
portray anything that's unattainable. I like it. Meditation.
I need to do more of it. I have been on and off with what's the 10-minute meditation? It's called. It is called. I'll tell you. 2 seconds. It's called Headspace. Headspace. I recommend it to everyone. It's 10 minutes of guided meditation, or if meditation is too profound, uh,
That's an app,
the
right?
word. It is. It's an app. It's an app. Thank you. And it's 10 minutes of guided breathing every day. And I would tend to start my day because I get up very early. And so if I can make it a point to get up, do the 10 minutes, it makes a significant difference in managing my stress levels. I'm glad you brought it up because I need to get back to it. I haven't been consistent. But I'm a huge, huge believer in the power of meditation and as a means to de-stress and get very clear about our goals, and what's valuable to us in life.
Amen. I got two more for you, and we'll close this up. Coconut oil.
Coconut oil is great. It's a healthy fat, but it's still a fat. And so that needs to be considered if someone's trying to manage their body fat. It's like, okay, great. I'm glad you're eating spoonfuls of coconut oil. I'm glad that it's good for your gut and it's good for your skin and it's good for your brain and it aids in fat loss, but it doesn't aid in fat loss if you're eating 700 calories a day of coconut oil on top of your regular diet. So cool, go ahead and put it in your coffee if that kind of gets you through the morning and keeps you cognitively alert and makes you feel good without breakfast. And if that's a way for you to manage your calories, then by all means, I'm totally for that. And I've been personally experimenting a little bit more with intermittent fasting and full day fasts and stuff like that as a means of just overall health. So I think it has its value, just like anything else, Todd. But again, is the devil's in the dose, right?
Amen.
So
I,
don't
th-
get too carried away suggesting that it's an end all be all.
I find myself saying that you can clean eat yourself into obesity just the same as you can.
Hey, man, if it's paleo, it doesn't have calories.
Any podcast you listen to frequently?
I listen to Tim Ferriss's podcast. Um, I listen to, there's a couple nutrition ones. There's one called Sigma Nutrition that's excellent. There's one called Iraqi Nutrition, Iraki. I think that the host's name is Juma Iraqi. He does a good job interviewing. He just has some great guest speakers on. It's really just about the information. And
Have you been on
it.
either of those?
No.
No, we got to get you on
Man,
there.
I'm not big time.
um,
No.
Ben, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out because I know you're busy trying to push several things and do what you do. And I tell you what, in wrapping up, for me, number one, the product works. I shared with Ben before we got on the call, my son, who's a swimmer, his reaction to it was there's got to be something illegal in this because I'd feel too good. He's a bit pragmatic, but for a 15-year-old, but a 15-year-old gave it a raving review. I've used it. I feel like my recovery's been better. Beyond, yeah, it's got to work. But beyond that, I asked you why you did it and what the goal was. And the goal, you said it 4 or 5 times, and I don't even know if you realized you said it. It was to help people. Not only the end user, but people that were in your shoes as trainers trying to do the right thing and help people themselves, and you wanted to make it easier for them. You were solving a problem for other people. You said nothing of I needed to make a side income. You said nothing of margins or this or that or whatever. It was more about doing something for somebody else. And man, that aligns with the way I live my life more than you'll probably can imagine at this point, because we only know each other over Skype. But anyway, I'm going to do all I can to push it. If there's anything that you want to say in closing, fire away. But thank you again for your time.
No, listen, man, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you having me on and kind of letting me just talk about what I'm passionate about, because that's what it's all about. And I appreciate you for, how long you've been in the industry. And I mentioned it before, it's a very tough industry. But at the end of the day I think we have a profound responsibility to share our knowledge to help as many people as possible. And so, that's what we're trying to do. So thank you again, and we'll be in touch soon.
Amen, brother. Thanks a bunch.
All right, buddy. Take care.